All right, friends, welcome to Cookie University, a virtual dolphin event. We're so proud of you for selling more than 350 boxes of cookies each, and we're so glad that you chose this virtual event experience today. We hope that you are just as excited as us, and you learned so much from our two amazing presenting organizations. In just a moment, we will welcome our first set of presenters, Cal and Kathleen from Dolphin Communication Project. Next, we'll meet Jen from Whale and Dolphin Conservation. We'll learn about their organizations, their careers, education, how they're making their little corner of the world a better place, and we'll get to see plenty of pictures and videos of dolphins. So just a reminder that today's virtual event is being recorded, and we ask that you remain muted unless invited to ask a question, and to not share your camera. Let's get started. I'd like to introduce two of my new friends, Kel and Kathleen from Dolphin Communication Project. When I approached Kel and Kathleen to partner with us several months back, their overwhelming response was a yes. They were so excited to jump right in and share everything they could with you girls of GSWISE. You may remember these faces from the virtual cookie rally. Here to share even more fun and information with us, please join me in welcoming Cal and Kathleen. Cal and Kathleen, can you tell us what is Dolphin Communication Project?
Well, certainly. And go ahead, Cal.
We can actually start that with a two truths and a lie, if you'd like. On the next slide, what do you girls think about DCP? Do we at DCP think that dolphins are the most important creatures in the sea? Do Dr. Kathleen and I value research and education? Or is DCP more than 20 years old? So I think there's a little poll set up where you can put your votes for which one is the lie.
There sure is.
So we'll see who thinks what.
So while folks are voting, I can give a little bit of detail about DCP. It's a US-based nonprofit organization, and we nicknamed the Dolphin Communication Project DCP, and we focus on promoting the scientific study of dolphins and inspiring their conservation, because you can't protect what you don't understand. And while we know that not everyone can be a full-time scientist, we do need to get accurate information that's also really interesting and factual out to the general public, like all of you, so that we can all work together to make informed decisions to protect dolphins and their ocean home.
That's right. So hopefully everybody has had a chance to chime in. So we can show the next slide. And the fib is drum roll. In case the next
Closing.
Well, DCP actually does not think that dolphins are the most important creatures in the sea, even though they are our focus. They're in our name, they're in our backgrounds, they're on our t-shirts. We know that everything in the ocean needs to be protected, and we're going to continue to bring up that idea throughout the rest of our visit today.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So what is your role within the organization? And if I'm correct, you want me to play this video?
Yes, please.
Now, we'll just let that play in the background and we'll chat for a little bit.
Excellent.
Sounds good. Well, I am the founder and director of DCP, and I've been studying dolphins for more than 30 years, if you can believe that already. And I've studied them in the Bahamas, in Japan, in Honduras, in Belize, in Patagonia, and other areas. And currently I lead our research programs to Roatan, Honduras, which you see on the screen right now. studying a group of dolphins there. I also last month brought our 4th college level field course program for this year to Roatan, to the Anthony's Key Resort. And next month, I bring our 5th and 6th groups down. We've been studying dolphins and doing our field courses consistently since 2016. And I've been studying the dolphins there since 2002. So I also advise undergraduates and graduate students and work with interns and volunteers. Kel, how about you?
And I am a research associate. It's kind of a fancy title. I'm also the outreach manager and board secretary at DCP, but I began as an intern. I'm going to share more about that along the way too. But after I was an intern for DCP, I then managed DCP's field site off a little island called Bimini in the Bahamas. And I did that for nearly 20 years. And I still live in Bimini full-time. But now I serve as DCP's outreach manager, which means I get to help with programs like this, social media, classroom visits, and other educational programs.
Thank you. What made you explore this career or help you find it?
Well, Kel and I both grew up in Connecticut. We're both from New England, and we both spent our summers visiting with our families, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. So we got to go on quite a few different whale watches. We weren't there at the same time, didn't know each other then. We didn't meet till a little bit later. And growing up, I loved animals and science and the oceans and needed to figure out how to put that all together. And that happened with a whale watching company when I was in college. And I got to learn more about them. And then kind of the rest is history. I just continued on with this work, but it all started by an internship. How about you, Kel?
So like Kathleen, I was also inspired by naturalists, or that kind of educator, that person on the tour boat who's pointing things out and sneaking education into your vacation. I got to go on whale watches in the summer, and I was really inspired by those naturalists. Once I got to high school, we took a school field trip to see a movie in an IMAX theater that was very cleverly titled Dolphins. And guess who the movie featured? Dr. Kathleen. And then a few years later, I was looking for a summer internship when I was in college. And I happened to see Dr. Kathleen in an alumni magazine for a completely different school. And I looked her up online and I found DCP and reached out and became a summer intern.
Pretty cool.
Fascinating. What is your educational background? Are there any specific degrees that you need for this type of work? How long did it take you to get the education that you needed?
Well, Kel and I each had slightly different paths. And so it really depends on which area you want to go into. For me, as a kid, I participated in VOAG and FFA, Future Farmers of America, in high school. I worked in a veterinary clinic. I raised chickens in my backyard, which was kind of funny to my mom, but that's another story. As an undergraduate at the University of Connecticut, I took as many science classes as I could find. I was a geek, a nerd, and I loved all of that information, that detail. And I also did a project as an undergraduate in biology that I was able to work with my advisor and get published. And that work and some NSF, National Science Foundation funding meant that I could go from my undergraduate degree right into a PhD. And sometimes you can just go right into a master's program and stick with your master's, or go on for a PhD, depending on what you want to study and what you want to do. What I would recommend is to take all the sciences that you can, even physics, even though I really didn't like physics that much. I now understand the benefits of physics. And I think whatever you do, you really need to like what you're doing. You need to be happy in the work that you're doing, because if you're happy, it won't feel like work. And so it'll benefit you. You'll learn, you'll gain experience if science is something that you really want to go into. And then it's potentially a job or a career that you can have. Life is just too short to not enjoy what you do day to day. And so for my schooling, I have a bachelor's degree in biology, and then I have a PhD. And then I did 2 postdocs, which are sort of projects that you do after your PhD. So in total, it was about 13, 14 years from undergraduate to postdoc and moving on. But those times will vary depending on what you want to do. How about you, Kel?
Once I could take electives in high school, right? When you're a younger student, you're just taking what they tell you to take. But by the time I was in high school, if I had any choices, I pretty much always took classes in science, extra classes there. By college, I actually ended up taking a mix of science classes and then more of classes around cultures and anthropology, different religions, and I traveled as much as I could, whether that was during my time off, some study abroad, my summer internship with DCP, and I wasn't sure I needed or even wanted a degree beyond my bachelor's, but then I realized that I could pursue a master's degree. I could go back to school for a little while, keep doing research with DCP in the Bahamas. And then I was fulfilled in my work and happy with where that was. So I decided not to pursue, a PhD and continued to be a researcher with DCP with a master's degree.
Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
How are you using your career to make the world a better place?
Well, for me, I think there's 2 ways that my career allows me to impact the world in an attempt to make it better. One is by understanding the animals that I study in situ, in their environment, whatever environment that is, to understand how they fit, and then how the habitat that they're in might impact their behavior. And then 2, by sharing my research and my approach with students like all of you, as well as undergraduates and graduate students in college, I get fulfilled by sharing this information with all of you, because I'm hoping that I can help create the next generation of environmental stewards, which means we all work together to protect the environment. And so if I can inspire other students to find their passion, and it happens to include the sciences or animals, then together we can work to make the entire area, the habitat, the oceans, the planet, a better place.
And it can be challenging for people to see the importance of protecting the ocean, because only some people live near it. It can feel a little bit separate from your everyday life. Like, how does what you do in Wisconsin make a difference to the ocean thousands of miles away? But it is all connected, and humans rely heavily on the health of the ocean. So inspiring people to care more about the dolphins will in turn lead to better protection of their ocean home. And for whatever reason, it's a lot easier to get people excited about the air-breathing, fun-loving fellow mammal, the dolphin, than, like, say, plankton.
True. Thank you. What kinds of challenges did you face, and how did you overcome them?
I get asked this question often, and I find it difficult to identify challenges or obstacles. That's another term that folks use, because I don't let other people tell me what I can and cannot do. I mostly follow my own path, and I know what I'm capable of doing. So I set my own goals, I set my own plans, my own path forward. And if I encounter what may be perceived as a challenge or an obstacle, then my approach is to find a way over it, under it, around it, or through it. So I don't really see it as an obstacle. It doesn't always make everybody feel great when I do that, but it works for me.
And thankfully, by the time I pursued this field, I had lots of strong, smart, successful female marine scientists to look up to, like Dr. Kathleen, my master's advisor. But I did have other people whispering, oh, you'll get over that little kid thing. You don't need to be a marine biologist or study mammals. I even had a college professor question how smart I must be if I was interested in marine mammals. So this kind of discouragement pushed me to do my summer internship with DCP, even though I kind of approached that first internship as like, oh, well, let me pursue this dream of mine one summer. So at least when I grow up and I have a real job, I'll be able to look back and know I at least gave it a try. But then, oh, oops, it turned into the next 20 years of my life. So I'm pretty glad about that.
Me too.
Yes. I am going to interject here for just a moment. I see some hands raised. Margot and Lucy, if you wouldn't mind popping those questions into the chat box for me, we will get to those. Additionally, I would just like to remind all of our friends to use that chat box respectfully today. Thank you. All right, moving on. What does a typical day look like for you at work, Cal and Kathleen? I imagine it's pretty exciting most days.
I think so. I don't know if we have slides, or this one's still good because this is where I spend a lot of my field sessions in this area. But there's no typical day for me. There will be my day depends actually whether I'm in the field or I'm gathering data, collecting data. And what you're seeing right now is for Kel when she's in the field, which is good.
Wait.
That's okay. So when I'm out in the field collecting data, the day starts at about 6 in the morning and I'm in the water by 6:30 and I'm in the water for an AM session. Oh, there's a little bit there. I collect data in the morning once or twice, and then I'm in the office analyzing data back at the lab. That's my day would be in front of a computer, writing, analyzing data, looking at the video or writing up reports or looking for a variety of funding, writing papers to go out. So it's each day is different generally, but then it's more different depending on whether it's in the field or in the office. How about you, Kel? Do you?
So you've seen some video clips of what it was like when I was collecting data in the Bahamas.
Do you want me to go back,
but
Cal?
like Kathleen, nope, it's okay. And actually, when the video stops, I think the next 2 slides have some still photos on them.
Okay.
But we're fine. When I was collecting data actively, the morning was often computer work, and then you had to prep to get to the boat. Our boat trips were bright and early, like when Kathleen is in Roatan in the Bahamas. The boat trips tend to be late in the afternoon. There we are on the boat. 4 to 5 hours on the boat, leading up to sunset. You get home, it's dark, you have to clean your gear, download pictures, charge cameras, get some sleep, and then hopefully get to do it all over again the next day. On days where there weren't boat trips, we also did a lot of photo ID, noting which individual dolphins were in photographs and video frames. And now that I'm not collecting new data for DCP, I focus on spreading the word about what DCP is doing, fun, engaging dolphin facts to try and keep people inspired.
Wonderful. That sounds like a beautiful mixture of exciting and refreshing and exhausting all at the same time.
It can be.
All right. So shall I let this video finish playing?
It depends on if we're short on time and you want to pause the screen share. Kathleen, I think next can show a little bit of the equipment we use.
Okay.
You see 2 people there swimming, and then it's the same. Well, the 2 people you saw swimming would have a mask and snorkel on. So you have a mask. It's if you've been in a pool and you've used goggles, it's a little bit big or bigger, and it covers your nose. And that would be around my head. my snorkel would be right attached, and that would allow me to breathe when I'm underwater. And then, of course, my feet are small, they're a size 6, but my fins allow me to kick and move through the water, which is pretty cool. I think I can go faster than normal with that. I also have, I wanted to bring this in and show, but it would be too hot for me to put it on now, but I have my 3 mil wetsuit that I wear, which keeps me warm in the water, because even though the water is warm in the tropics, when you're in there for a half hour or an hour, you can get a little chilly. So I have that. And then the other piece of equipment that we use is an MVA, a mobile video acoustic system. And I don't have the camera in here right now because the camera is getting ready to go into the field again. But this is the underwater housing. And the camera would go right in here. See, I left it so you can also see the opening, and the tray just slid out. So hopefully it wasn't too loud on there. But the camera goes right into the housing. It weighs about, what'd you say, Cal, about 20 pounds. In the water, it's just slightly, it's like neutrally buoyant, so it would float if you left it. And the arms go out from the height, where the camera would be, to boxes, which is where we put the hydrophones, which are the underwater microphones. And they are spaced 4.5 times the distance between our ears, so that when we listen to the sounds, we can get directionality, left, right, and center directionality, so that we can confirm who's making a sound underwater for at least, about 1/3 of all of our video. We can tell who's making the sound.
Yep.
So,
because dolphins are excellent ventriloquists, and
They
they do
are.
not have to give any visual indication that they're vocalizing if they don't want to.
Right.
So it really helps us to have this cool piece of equipment, because if the dolphins aren't releasing a bubble stream or something like that, they don't make any sounds from their mouth. Their sounds with their mouths closed. And Kathleen, with her college professors, built that. Like, they saw a challenge in dolphin research, and they didn't wait for a million gajillion dollar grant. They didn't have a big fancy laboratory. They found everyday products that they could create a completely new system to solve this research problem that they had.
I liked I still do, hardware stores and building things and putting things together. So everything there is stuff that you could get from a hardware store, with the exception of the camera and the hydrophones, but that is attached to it. So, and that's part of it, is don't, I guess both Kel and I subscribe to the same philosophy, is don't let anyone tell you you can't do something. You can find a way to do it.
Yep.
And if you hadn't told, yeah, I was just going to say, and if you hadn't realized, green is my favorite color, so that's why.
I don't know if we have time, Crystal, for the last little 2 truths and a lie. I don't want to take up your next speaker's time, but we're happy to do it if time allows.
We can pop that up.
Awesome.
All right, can you see my screen again?
Yeah.
Perfect.
It'll click a couple of more. Yep, there's Kathleen in the field.
Yep.
Love it.
There's
Cal.
me.
You can see the MVA on the right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we'll launch this poll for you.
Awesome. So Miss Crystal was wondering what in our opinion, what we thought the most important thing that we can do to care for our marine friends, including dolphins. So we thought we would ask you ladies if you thought the most important thing was to reduce plastic, stop protecting sharks, or reduce fossil fuel use. So, but we framed it in that 2 truths and a lie. So which of those things is the fib? Which thing is actually not important for protecting dolphins? I'll give you a few seconds to put in your answers there. And then Crystal, whenever you think enough people have answered, you can go to the answer screen.
Okay. 5 more seconds.
Perfect.
All right, so there are our results.
Getting to be a little bit more of an even split on this one.
Yeah.
So if you click once more on the slide, you guys can see that even though some sharks are natural predators of some dolphins, sharks are extremely important to the health of the oceans. So we won't be doing the dolphins any favors by harming sharks. In fact, reducing plastic and fossil fuel use will end up helping the dolphins and their entire ocean home. And all of the other amazing critters that live there, including the plankton. No offense to the plankton earlier. And you can do even more to help. On the next slide, you'll see results of a beach cleanup in the Bahamas. So you can do beach, river, stream cleanup, even a litter cleanup that seems like it's nowhere near a water source. And you can learn about dolphins, the ocean, and share that information with others. Be willing to be a little bit uncomfortable too. So if you and your friends or your family, you find a better environmental choice, you're going to make a switch and you're going to do something differently, give yourself a little bit of time to adjust to that new lifestyle choice option object before you give up. Kathleen?
I agree with everything that Cal said, and also encourage you all to be engaged and be informed and help make decisions that benefit the environment, the oceans, and the planet. Remember, if you don't understand something, ask questions. You always ask. I mean, that's the true, you can all be scientists, even if you don't go into a scientific field, just by asking questions and trying to find the answers that will, one, you'll learn from, and two, will probably help the environment.
Wonderful advice. Thank you. And is there, I think there is a couple of
These are just some dolphins riding the bow of the boat in the Bahamas, being silly.
Love that.
Yeah, and this is just our website. If you're allowed to go on the internet or ask your parents, we have lots of information on our website, recorded webinars. Dolphin lessons are geared more towards kids, and there are kids science activities, free PDFs on the website that you can get coloring pages and crossword puzzles, all sorts of stuff up there. And then toward the end, I don't know how many more clicks, we just put a couple extra slides in case we needed to fill time, but as usual, Kathleen and I have no trouble chatting away. I think maybe the last slide has our email address. If any of you want to stay in touch with your parents' permission, that's how you can find us and find more information. And we were really, really grateful to be a part of your program today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. There is one question that has come up numerous times. First of all, Kathleen, you got some love for being in a movie, so kudos
thank
to you.
you.
And they want to know, have you been bit by a dolphin?
I didn't hear the question, sorry.
Have you been bitten by a dolphin?
I've been touched by a dolphin. So they've rubbed against me and, rubbed all different parts of their body against me. But I tried really hard to be non-invasive. I think Kel and I are two of maybe the only people on the planet that want dolphins to ignore us when we're out there collecting data, because we want to see what they do with each other, not with people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but they do have sharp teeth. And they are Kathleen often calls them a complete social animal. So it looks like they're smiling, but that's just the shape of their face. So you have to be respectful around them because if they feel threatened, if they feel scared, they could bite a person. But because we're behaving respectfully, it's never happened to us.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Kel and Kathleen, for your time today and for sharing a little bit more about all of the amazing work you're doing and your passion for working with dolphins and just inspiring their conservation. We really appreciate you both joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having us. It's been great to
Yeah.
spend some time this afternoon with all of you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to stop sharing their presentation now. And next up, we are joined by Jen from Whale and Dolphin Conservation. When I approached them several months back, I was also welcomed with a big Girl Scout hello and a big yes to educating all of our girls on all things dolphins. Jen brings us a perspective as an educator and is going to share how they rescue our marine friends like dolls and whale fins. Well, dolphins and whales, that came out goofy. And a little bit about the educational aspects. So please join me in welcoming Jen. Jen, I'm going to let you share your screen.
All right,
And
thank
Jen,
you.
can you tell us a bit more about whale and dolphin conservation?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my name is Jen Kelly, and I work for Whale and Dolphin Conservation. It's a kind of a mouthful to say, so we also call it WDC. And I'm just going to get our slideshow going. All
Looks
right.
perfect.
Great. Thank you. So here we are at Whale and Dolphin Conservation, and our mission is a world where every whale and dolphin is safe and free. And that is also a very hard and notable gesture, but it is very important to sustain the future of our entire planet, and also increase the planet's climate resiliency. And so our mission is to amaze people with the wonders of whales and dolphins in order to inspire people to help us protect them. All right, so I'm going to give you a brief introduction of whale and dolphin conservation with a video we have.
Whale and Dolphin Conservation is a leading global charity dedicated to the conservation of whales, dolphins, and our shared ocean. Our North American office has 3 initiatives: outreach, science, and policy. Outreach and education connects all of our work. In our boater outreach programs, we create trainings for boaters to prepare them to share the sea with whales. In our education programs, we offer unique hands-on learnings for our STEM curriculum and Delilah, our life-size inflatable right whale. Science underpins all of the work we do. We collect data from live and dead marine mammals through our Marine Animal Rescue and Response Program. This critical information tells us how we can better protect these amazing animals. We are committed to developing a diverse, inclusive, and equitable fields for our internship program. Policy puts science into action, and conservation lies on its shoulders. We find solutions to human-induced threats by launching public campaigns working with state, federal, and international committees. Currently, our top priorities focus on 2 endangered species: North Atlantic right whales and southern resident orca. Why should we save whales and dolphins? Whales and dolphins play a vital role in the health of our planet by working as the ocean's gardeners. They fertilize the plants of the ocean to help us fight climate change and create most of the planet's oxygen. Visit whales.org to learn more. Save the whales, save the world.
So that's a little bit about what we do at WDC. and I would like to tell you a little bit more about my role here. So I went and studied marine biology when I was in college. Just like our previous presenters, I grew up loving the ocean, spent a lot of time around it. I grew up in Massachusetts. So of course I went on to study marine biology. It did have its challenges. There were some very tough courses, but I stuck with it. And as they were also saying, as you get to those elective classes, they're really enjoyable as you get to really focus on your education and your passion for the curriculum you're learning about and the animals and plants and things you're learning about in marine bio. From there, when I graduated, I went on to work at a local nonprofit, and I was there for about 12 years. During that time, I also gained my captain's license. So I was taking school groups out as an educator and captain, and bringing people out onto the water so that they could develop a love for the ocean as much as I did. And I now have my role at Whale and Dolphin Conservation. I have only been here for about 6 months, but I am working to develop an education program for the organization. And it has been off to a really great start. And as you can see here in some of my photos, we have one of our biggest teaching tools here. This is our life-size inflatable right whale. So it's actually about 46 feet long, and her name is Delilah. And schools and groups get to actually go inside Delilah to explore some of the things inside. Like in this bottom right photo, you can see there are some jaw bones at the top, and then there's some brown baleen. And on the top, you can't see above our educator's head, but there are lungs and a spine, and there are ribs as well. So lots to talk about inside Delilah, who is a critically endangered right whale. There are actually only about 340 left in the world. We also do education programs like teaching kids about plankton and whales and how they are related together, why they are important for each other. And we also teach about marine animal rescue with our life-size dolphin model that we have as well. My role there specifically is to create relationships with schools and create lesson plans and new activities, and then support teachers with their curriculum in their school, and bring in our whale and dolphin lessons. We also attend a lot of community events and bring Delilah with us, but we also host seal walks. And then not really my job, but part of it is that WDC is like the first responders for stranded marine animals in Massachusetts. So the southeastern part of Massachusetts, there's about 200 miles of coastline. So we're really working hard to get our name out there and our phone number so that if there are any stranded marine animals like a dolphin, a whale, a porpoise, or seals, they can call us and we can go out there and respond. We get a lot of calls for seals, so we may assess them and see how they're doing. A lot of times they're actually just resting and need a little bit before they go back into the water, but sometimes animals do end up needing more care from us. And at that point, we would call in some of our partners because we do not have a rehabilitation facility. So we don't actually have vets on our staff that can help them and take care of them. But we're there to make the first assessment and be there first to help the animal, and then more people will come and help us as well. So I have a trivia question for you. There are 2 categories of whales. There are baleen whales, and what is the other kind of whales? And you can put your guesses in the chat. All right, the other one is called toothed whales. So it has to do with how they feed. Here are some examples of baleen whales. There's a humpback and a right whale. And then we have toothed whales like an orca and different porpoises and dolphins. And I'm telling you this because dolphins are actually whales. They're just in a different category, those baleen whales and toothed whales. There are 14 species of baleen whales and 74 species of toothed whales. So how am I using my career to make the world a better place? I have another video to show you all about the green whale and why whales are important.
Hi, I'm Regina, and I've been studying whales and their role in the marine ecosystem for many years. Did you know that whales are allies in the fight against climate change? No? Then my colleague Sabrina will imagine what it's like to be inside the mind of a humpback whale named Salt.
Hi, I'm Salt, and I spend most of the year off the east coast of North America. I am a female humpback whale with a large family. I have 15 children, 17 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren, and I hope there will be more. My whole family are gardeners of the seas. But how do we do that? Well, we fertilize the seas with nutrients.
Iron and other nutrients from whale poop feed phytoplankton. These tiny marine plants absorb carbon dioxide from the air and release oxygen into the atmosphere. So much, in fact, that land creatures like us humans owe every other breath we take to the ocean.
But we do even more. Whales are also nutrient mixers. To find food, we often have to dive deep. But to breathe, we regularly come to the water's surface.
By spending time at different ocean depths, whales mix and transport nutrients across all water layers. This benefits both phytoplankton at the ocean surface and bottom-dwelling organisms in the deep sea.
At some point, even whales have to die. But even after we die, we play an important role in the marine ecosystem.
The body cells of whales, like those of all living creatures, consist largely of carbon. When a whale dies, the body usually sinks to the bottom of the sea, locking the carbon away for up to thousands of years. There it is decomposed over many years by hungry deep sea creatures. The carbon stored in the whale's carcass is transferred to the cells of the deep sea organisms, preventing it from being released back into the atmosphere.
Whales are perfect climate protectors. We are climate giants. Without me as the head of the family, there will be far fewer whales in the ocean. And the fewer whales there are, the more the climate is out of balance. So when you protect us, you also protect the climate. Every whale counts.
Come to our website to learn more about how we need to save the whales to save the world.
All right. Heading on to the next slide. So how do toothed whales, including dolphins, catch their food? And I'll give you a second to put your answer in the chat. There's a little hint down here at the bottom in this photo of the dolphin. I'm going to go ahead and give the answer since we're running short on time here. But they can use echolocation to help catch their food. And so they make sounds and listen for the echoes that bounce back from their prey, and that helps them to locate it. So here's a typical day at the office. And there actually really isn't such thing as a typical day because we never know what we can expect, whether we'll get calls on our rescue phone or every education program is different. But here's a photo of us inside Delilah teaching some students. And we are a dog-friendly office, so our staff are welcome to bring in their dogs every once in a while. So it's nice to have dogs there and to keep people occupied and get to give a little pet every once in a while to break up your day. We are also the Marine Animal Rescue and Response. So here is a dolphin that was on the beach nearby us earlier this year. And we also host trainings for boater outreach. And so we are teaching people how to safely view whales in the wild, whether they own their own boats or they can be part of our whale sense program if they are a whale watching company. And they would then be a whale sense participant and would have that logo that they can show to folks that they are responsible whale watchers. And not only are they trying to provide a great experience for you, but they're also being safe around the whales and dolphins. And that is really important too. There are some challenges to the work that we do, and one is spreading the word. So we have offices internationally, so outside of the US, places like the UK and Germany. But here, our US office is in Massachusetts, and so it's pretty difficult to spread the word across the country. So we are always trying to do that and get the word out because we need everyone to help us save whales and dolphins. And it is also really tough to change regulations and policies. So that gets worked on quite a bit, but it is really hard to make those changes. And whenever we have marine mammal strandings, as you can imagine, sometimes it can be sad to see the animals that may be injured on the beach or needing of our help. And so that can be a little challenging on its own. But these are just some of the challenges. But overall, it is a really rewarding group and organization to work with, and a really rewarding career to have. Here is some of the equipment that we use. Here's Delilah. We bring microscopes in to look at plankton in classrooms. We have all sorts of different bones and artifacts. Here is some of our gear that we use for rescues. We have kennels, we have a boat that some of our staff go out for research. And we have things like stethoscopes to listen to heartbeats. And lastly, we need everyone's help to save whales and dolphins. And even though you don't live very close to the water, you are still able to help us save the whales and dolphins in the ocean. And I looked up your location and it looks like you live close to the Fox River. So hopefully you've all heard of the Fox River because it is a pretty big river. And that river leads down into the Illinois River, into the Mississippi River, and then out to the Gulf of Mexico, where whales and dolphins do live, and that ocean connects with the other oceans. And what we do to our land around where you live does have an effect to the water nearby and even all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. So say you are out having a snack and your litter blows away, it may end up getting washed into the Fox River, either by rainstorms or by wind, and it may get carried all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. So I like to say to people, whatever we do to our land can have an effect on the water and the ocean. So if you can help us take care of the land by putting things in the trash, reducing the amount of plastics that you're using, maybe trying to use more reusable products, and reducing the amount of fossil fuels like coal and gas that you're using, that will all help protect the overall planet, which will ultimately help protect the whales and dolphins in the ocean. That's all I have for you for now. I'm going to stop my screen share. And I wanted to thank you all very much for inviting me to this really exciting day that you're having today.
Thank you, Jen, so much for your time today and for sharing all of this information. I know I learned a thing or two today, so I'm sure we all did.
Great, that's awesome.
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. It was more acknowledgement of the trivia questions and speaking about the Fox River and such. So while I wait for that, see if there's any questions that come up. What do whales eat? Would you like to address that, Jen?
Sure. So there, like we talked about, there are two different kinds of whales, two different groups. There are baleen whales, and they're filter feeders. So they'll actually bring water into their mouth and then let the water flow back out, but it traps all the food in with their baleen. And then there are whales and dolphins with teeth. So they're going to be more like active hunters, and they go out looking for things to eat like fish and other crustaceans.
Wonderful. There's a question, do you name your dolphins? I'm guessing they're speaking of like the ones that are rescued.
Yeah, so actually we don't name our dolphins. If animals are rescued, they do get a name at the facility that is rehabilitating them. So it's not something that we do. But what we also do is name whales in the wild so that we can track them and follow them and learn more about them. And so that's not just whale and dolphin conservation, that's a whole group of organizations working together to name them and then follow them. So like in the video you saw, Salt, that's an actual humpback whale. And by knowing who she is and naming her, we now know that she had 15 children and 17 grandchildren.
Wonderful. Thank you for tackling some of those questions for us, Jen.
Absolutely.
I want to, as we're approaching 3 o'clock here, I want to just give a big thank you again to both Kel and Kathleen from Dolphin Communication Project and Jen from Whale and Dolphin Conservation. We learned so much from all of you today, and we're so grateful for your time and your willingness to share your passion and all you do to care for animals, our marine friends. So I hope that everyone has enjoyed their time here today and you've learned a thing or two. Together, we can make a difference, friends. So let's all be the change that we want to see in the world. And remember that no action is too small to make a difference. So with that, thank you everyone for joining us today. I wish you all well and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.